And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with Ali Machate. Ali, good to have you with me today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's going to be a really fun conversation. Ali runs, well, the writer's ally. That's who she is. She helps entrepreneurs, business owners, people actually get the book done that you've been thinking about, that's probably like half done on your computer, and you can't quite get there. You don't know why, or you've believed some of the myths around publishing that are just circling the internet all the time. Ali's gonna help us figure out how to overcome those myths, how to expose them, explode them, and how to get your book published. So that's what we're talking about today. It's going to be a fun conversation. So, Ali, tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing, helping people?
Well, I am the consummate book nerd. I have loved books and I have loved writing and reading really honestly my whole life. My mom loves to tell people that, I started reading at the age of 3, which is pretty early because I was
Wow.
so eager. I loved books so much when she read to me. And I would make little construction paper and crayon books and I would give them, to my parents' friends and my friends. And I would call myself a publisher. Here I
Love it.
published a book.
Love it.
So it really has been my whole life, my academic career. I did all the, editor of the school paper things. And then into college, I started freelancing for the first time as a freelance writer during school. I got an internship at a regional publisher, which was my first, real job in publishing, and got a wonderful education because it was such a small publisher. I was able to do a little bit of all the things. He's really had my fingers in all the different projects and see how all the different departments of a publisher would work. And then, of course, after I graduated, I was incredibly fortunate to get a job at Simon and Schuster, one of the big 5 publishers in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And working there was an amazing experience and an amazing education. I had really supportive people on my team who really made an effort to teach us young folks and like get us involved and like
Good.
really let us dive in. I acquired my first book before I'd been there a year. I was working with lots of other projects. But as time went on, we had 9/11, we had the dot-com bust, and the industry in New York, as many things about New York, really changed. And I found myself in a situation where I was kind of stuck, and I thought, you know what, let me take a little break. I'm gonna go and finish my master's degree. I was working on my English and creative writing degree. I thought I'll take a break, I'll finish that up, I'll do some freelancing, and then I'll come back. And what actually happened was while I was freelancing, I realized that I loved it so much. I didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
And I took that education that I had had working in publishing and I was able to go to authors directly. And right around this time was when self-publishing and print on demand started to really become a viable option. And a few years later, we had ebooks starting to come on the scene. And people had so many ways to produce books and get their books out to readers more directly without the help of big publishers, which is a wonderful industry and is great for so many people. But as we know, it's really like the top 1%. There's lots of people who have
Right.
great books that just for one reason or another don't cut it at that level, but still have a lot of value and still have people have a lot of things to share. And I loved working with people directly to help them make their books the best that they could be and help them navigate the industry. Did that for a few years myself. I was a ghostwriter, I was a book doctor, worked for all the big publishers, worked for some new emerging indie authors, and eventually felt like, I need to offer people a solution where they're coming to me, they trust me, they know me. I want to be able to convey that trust across the board of services. I was an editor. I wasn't a designer. I wasn't doing all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I wanted to bring people in so that when I worked with a client in the beginning of the project, I could hand them off and say, you can trust these folks. We're going to get it done right. You're going to have a professional cover. You're going to have a professional quality book. We're going to help you market it the way it needs to be marketed. And so I started building a team, and the Writer's Ally was born.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What a great journey. Because that just echoes the journey of so many entrepreneurs. We're not born entrepreneurs. We learn it, we figure it out. And I love that you're following your 3-year-old passion, or your passion since you were 3. Let me put it that way,
Yeah,
because it's been a passion for more than 3 years. But
indeed.
just to start that young and to stay on that track is really cool and admirable. So well done on that. Let's talk. I'm going to let you kind of talk about some of the myths that are out there that are circulating that really cause people to hold back and not get their content, their thoughts out into the world through a book, an ebook. And what are the top, one, two, three, whatever myths that you're hearing that you figured out how to circumvent, how to explode to help entrepreneurs actually create that book?
Sure. Excuse me. Well, I think one of the things that people struggle with a lot, and it's certainly something I come across earlier in the process, by the time we meet our clients, they have a draft. But when I'm out here like this on podcasts, I speak to a lot of writers groups. I often hear a lot of folks have these anxieties around whether or not they even should write a book. Does anyone care what I have to say? There's already 500 business books. Why would I write another one? Isn't
Yeah.
isn't everything already been said? And I do want to say that personally, I do not think everyone should write a book. I know that's very
Mm-hmm.
contrary. There's a lot of people out there who believe everyone has a book in them, everyone should write a book, every business needs a book. I don't think that's true. I think there are some times where a different tool might be the better tool for the job. I think there are times in your business where maybe you're just not there yet and a book doesn't quite make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who want to write a book, what I say is there is nobody in the world or in history who has your unique perspective on whatever topic it is you want to write about. And yeah, the basic facts might have been covered in other books, and there are other people saying those things. But first of all, anyone who has a problem to solve doesn't buy just one book, right?
Right. That's
You
right.
got you got you want to learn something, you buy a few books. So that's first of all. You don't have to be the only book they buy because they're
Right.
going to buy a few. And also, it's about your perspective and your experiences and the unique way that you think about things. So, you and I could sit here, we could have the exact same outline and sit down and write a book. And that book is going to be different. Even though we might be writing about the same things, we're both going to bring our experiences, our
Yeah.
perspective, our thoughts. And it's going to make that book a different kind of book and a different kind of experience for the reader. So I think there's room for all kinds of voices. You don't
Yeah.
have to feel like, oh, it's already been done. Why would anyone care? People care. There are people out
People
there who care.
they do, and it kind of goes back to what you said earlier about you starting your own company and things. Is we tell our clients it's yeah, you've got a unique perspective. People buy who you are more than what you do. And in every business category, industry, I mean, there are like dozens of competitors. Why are they choosing you? And when you can bring that forth in your book, kind of like you've done in your business, but somebody who has something to say, that's one aspect of the book, the content. But it's also who you are, your unique perspective or process or something of that nature, weaving all of that into the pages of your book that really moves the needle in terms of connecting with your audience. Is that what you found?
Absolutely, 100% true. And I think that sort of ties into the second myth, which is that any book is a good book, right? There's also a lot of this advice floating around the internet. Well, you just need to write a book. Almost doesn't matter what it's about. As long as you can tell people you're a published author, that's going to raise your credibility. That's going to get you more clients. That's going to build your business.
Yeah,
And we both know that's not true. It can't
that's
just
right.
be any book. It has to be the right book.
Yeah,
So yeah, thinking about who are those people that you want to speak to, and for a business owner or service provider, that person theoretically is also your ideal client, right? You're writing a book for
yeah,
the kinds of people that you work with, that you already know, that you've already, solved problems for and interacted with and know what they need. So you can't just write any book. You can't just throw a whole bunch of your old blog posts together and put your name on it and say, oh, I'm a published author. I mean, you can do that, but
right.
you're not going to get the results that you want. You're not going to connect with people. So, figure out what it is about you that's different, what your unique spin or your take on things, what your message is, who specifically you want to talk to, and then figure out what exactly is it that you want that book to do for you in the world. What's it going to do
Yeah,
for you? What's it going to do for those folks that you're writing for? And make sure the book you're writing is hitting those notes. It can't just be about, basket weaving or something
right.
totally random.
Yeah, yeah, and too many times people look at a book as yeah, it is a tool. It's a big lever, but they look at it not in a holistic perspective. They go, "I want to write a book. I'm gonna put it on Amazon, and people are gonna buy it." Yeah, no, it's not like Field of Dreams. I rewatched that movie a while back. If you build it, they will come. Yeah, not necessarily. I think, oh, last time I checked, there are like 2 million books published every year. It's not about just having this tool like, oh, I've got a new blog post or I have a new this or I have a new that. No, it has to become part of the DNA of you, your marketing, your positioning, all of that, so that it gives you a new platform, a new voice out in a larger area. And I think people they forget about that because they're like, I just
Yeah,
need to write a book. Well, that's
absolutely.
a part, but okay. So that's two myths. Should I
Absolutely.
write a book? Any book's a good book. Any one more.
I think that you kind of just touched on a little bit that field of dreams mentality, right? If I write it, they will come.
Yeah,
And in some sense, there's something there that's really valuable, which is the focus on writing a really good book. That's
yeah,
the good part of that myth. That, if I just write a really good book, the right people will find it. So the first part, yes, write that really good book, spend the time, put the energy in. It is important to write a really good book. But the they'll just come part is the
yeah,
part that's the myth.
yeah,
The tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, right? If you put out a really great book, it can be the best book in the world, but if nobody knows it exists, they're not going to find it. They're not going to read it. They're not going to connect with it. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's absolutely true. Over 1 million books are published every single year. Plus, of course, we have the backlist of all the books that have already been published. So the noise that's out there in the marketplace is incredible.
yeah,
You really have to think about who you're trying to reach with that book, which circles back to that point of what do you want this book to do out in the world? Having a strategic plan from the very beginning, not just, oh, I want something to say. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write that book, and I'm going to put it out there. And, whoever resonates with it is going to find it. It's just not going to get you very far. You
right.
want to really have that plan. What do I want the book to do? Who do I need to connect with for that thing to happen? How does the book need to be shaped and designed to lead people in that direction to make that thing happen? Yes, make it a really great book, but also think about how you're going to reach those readers and let them know it exists.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about how you work with people who are sitting there with they've thought about a book, they've probably written a few chapters or whatever, and it's just not going anywhere, right? And let's talk about how you help them do that. I know you've got a webinar that we want to promote, and then see how people can get a hold of you. So how do you work with somebody if they're sitting out there going, I've been wanting to do this, I just what do they do? How do you help them?
Yeah, so I offer, first of all, a lot of free content. I do a lot of talks. I have a lot of great articles on our blog. I've started doing open office hours now that have been really popular the last couple of months. So just giving people an opportunity before they get too deep into any relationship, just to be able to come and ask a question of someone where they know that they can trust the answer, that there's real experience behind it. So I like to try to make a lot of opportunities for that type of thing. I do free calls, that sort of thing. I do private consultations with people who are very early in the process. So, someone like you're describing, they're really stuck. Maybe they have a couple of ideas. They're not sure which idea is the right idea to pursue, what the right book might be for them. So, I do private phone consultations with those folks, and I try to help them figure out those answers and those questions and start the plan to get them going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some book coaching packages. It really depends on the person. We don't do ghostwriting, but I have a nice network of ghostwriters that I'll connect folks with if
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's right for them. If they need a coach, I'll connect them with a coach. Where my team really comes in is once the draft is completed. So not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily finalized, but an actual complete rough draft.
Right.
And then we start with developmental editing, which I think is one of the stages that so often gets overlooked. And it really is, I think, the most critical component to the whole thing. Because ultimately, if you have a great cover and you have great marketing and people get inside the book and the book doesn't deliver, you get one of those situations where you have lots of downloads and no reviews. Like, why isn't
Yes.
anybody reviewing? Because they didn't finish it or because they thought it was bad. They're doing
Yes.
you a favor by not reviewing it.
Right.
So we start with that development. We really look at those questions that we've been talking about. What do you do in your business? Who do you serve? How do you see this book fitting into your goals? What are you trying to do as you grow your business? How can the book be leveraged? What's that bigger vision for how the book fits into that ecosystem of you?
Yeah.
And once we understand that, we really help them to make sure that all the things they're telling us are happening on the page, that the book is actually doing the things they want it to do, what they need it to do, help that draft really reach its highest potential. Once we go through that process, it's usually a number of rounds and revisions back and forth. And then we can move forward from there. If somebody is interested in trying to get an agent and publisher, we help them with a query letter I work on proposals to make sure they have a submission package. And if they want to go the independent route, we can support them all the way through to the end of the process and marketing.
How fun. How fun. It's so good because sometimes people just need a conversation. Is what I found. And it's like, "Oh, is that it?" And then they can go off and take it to that next level. I love how you pick it up with the manuscript because so many people and I mean, I hear it all the time now. I can just use ChatGPT to create my book. It's like, well, yeah, probably not, but you still just have a manuscript. You haven't done the developmental edit. And then you need a proofreader, and then you need a designer and a formatter. They don't understand. They just think it's a there, I'm done. And to create a great book, it takes so many people and so many processes and so many sets of eyes. Because the last thing is an entrepreneur wants to do, in my opinion, is publish a book that's terrible. Really, it might have a great cover, but you give it to somebody and they're like, that's just really because it kills your credibility, and they're not going to
Absolutely.
tell anybody, right? Is that what you found?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100% true. That's why I mean, look, if you are a national celebrity, right? And everybody knows who you are, sure, you can get away with a half-assed book because they don't care because they're buying it on the strength of your name. But that's
yeah,
not the life most of us are living, right?
that's
We're
right.
we're not we're not trading millions of dollars off of our faces, right? So I think the media, as it does in many cases, really does people a disservice here because they see these stories, sometimes real stories in the newspaper, sometimes fictional stories in TV shows and whatnot, where somebody writes a book, and the next thing you know, the book is getting published, right? Like
Yeah,
they literally don't see all
right.
of the steps, so they don't understand, and especially with editing, I think this happens a lot. People hear editing and they think of spelling, grammar, punctuation, cleaning things up,
Yeah,
which is actually copy editing, a
right,
very important stage, but it's the last stage. They don't
right.
see all
Yeah,
that other stuff that happens. So they
that's right.
honestly just don't know what they don't know.
That's right, and that's okay. That's why you're here. That's why we're here. I mean, it's
Exactly.
the same thing. Talk about this. As we start wrapping up, talk about this. This fun titled webinar process you've got, or whatever. Talk about that because I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. So my pre-recorded webinar is called "Don't Write the Wrong Book," and it's very much designed to address all of these things that we're talking about. There is a scenario in which a person can write a perfectly good book that does not achieve the results that they
Yeah,
want because it is the
absolutely.
wrong book. So the webinar is about 20 to 30 minutes, and it takes you through, first of all, explaining what that actually means. What does it mean to write the wrong book versus the right book? And how do you go about avoiding writing the wrong book? How do you take some steps to make sure your book is the right one to help you achieve the goals and the dreams that you have for you and your business? And it takes you through a bit of a step by step process on how to get started in that direction.
That's awesome. We're going to have a link to that webinar in the show notes because I think that's a great resource for you. If you're sitting there, if you're sitting wanted to do this, you've thought about it, or you're thinking about it, just go invest 20, 30 minutes understand how Allie thinks and why she is called the writer's ally because she's here to walk alongside of you and to guide and direct you so that you can actually get your book published and out into the world because that's the only place it's going to make an impact. So, Allie, how do people find you, the webinar website? Where's the best place for them to go?
If they're interested in the webinar, you're going to have that link. It's offers.thewritersally.com/paperback experts. And then if they want to talk about their draft, if they actually have the book written and they're interested in getting some services and support, they can still find us at the same site, thewritersally.com. We've got a form there they can fill out for a free book strategy call with me.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to grab those, have those in the show notes so that you can connect with Allie and have an ally as you're trying to create your book and get it published into the hands of other people. So thank you so much, Allie. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for taking this passion from being 3 years old and living it out today and making an impact in so many people's lives. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I mean, I always say that it's a little bit selfish, honestly. I'm a reader. I always turn to books when I need information and solutions. I just want more great books to be out there.
100%, 100%. So thanks for listening to Experts Speak. Tune in again next week for another great episode. Take care. God bless.
Thanks again.